You go out there, you slam, you hit concrete, it hurts, you break your arm. You know, you don't skate another as long. You're over it. You get scared of it. You can't mentally be ready for it. My name is Moss Miller. I'm 30 years old. I'm a professional skateboarder for Effort Skateboards. I'm also sponsored by Ninja Bearings and America Shoes. And I own the Flip Side Skateboard Shop. And we've been in business now for 8 years. And I've been riding for Effort for about 3 years. And I've been skating since '91, so 17 years. Grew up in Meigs County, was there till probably, like I said, like we moved there I think in like '82 or '83. And we were there till about 1990 when my parents separated. My mom moved to Athens. So the reason why I tell this story is because skateboarding for me started as soon as I moved to Athens. Because growing up in Meigs County, it's all dirt roads. There's no town, like where I grew up, there was no towns, there was no skateboarding. It was like, you know, what I kind of grew up with was baseball. My older brother was skateboarding, and my younger brother started skateboarding too. So we had 3 people in my family who were all riding skateboards. So we used to all kind of follow around my brother Yang. We all kind of like had our own friends who had skateboards and whatnot. But you know, just slowly started really get into skateboarding. And the first pro board was an Alva board. It was Justin Lynch, and I had no idea who Justin Lynch was or what Alva was. Actually, when you look at it, it looks like it says AWA, like AWA, but it's actually Alva, which I call them AWAs. I had no idea. By that time I had my first pro board, I was like hooked on skateboarding, you know? And it's just like, it was starting to become more and more of a passion. We used to do this thing called focusing a board, which is where like you get so frustrated and pissed with the trick. And I kind of learned it through videos in a sense too. Like, you know, like you get frustrated when you can't land something and you stomp your board, brand new board, whatever. You think it's the board's fault, so you just stomp it, boom, your board's done, it's over. I remember there's a real phase in my life when, you know, like I had all these visions of being like a pro skateboarder or an amateur skateboarder and being good at it and everything like that. And they kind of like, honestly, I kind of got really frustrated with skateboarding. And I remember at one point I was like, really was going to quit. I was like, I think I'm going to quit. I was like, I think I'm over it. I was like, it's just so frustrating. And I get so mad. I'm not going anywhere. You know, being in Athens, Ohio, being in Ohio, period, like there's only a few skateboarders who have made it in Ohio. You know what I mean? And most of them don't live in Ohio. They live out in California. So it's really interesting to really go through that phase because I really thought I was over skateboarding. You know, so like, I pretty much told all my friends, like, I quit. I was real frustrated, and they were trying to talk me out of it, but I was like, I quit. I'm over it. And it only lasted for, like, about a week or something like that, and before I knew it, like, I got a new board, and I was right back out there. But I remember it was kind of a turning point for me, because ever since then, I really haven't focused the board. I never focused boards, because I think of that moment and those times when I used to do that and whatnot, and it's just not skateboarding to me. But so these 2 guys approached me named Steve and Mike. So they said they want to start a skateboard shop. And it's just trying to, you know, mess around with brands and whatnot. And I kind of hinted to him and told him about the skateboard scene and kind of let him know that, like, what it was like. And there were still skateboarders at this time, but a lot of them weren't guys that I grew up with. The guys I grew up with were kind of over skateboarding. So it was nice to have a skateboard shop and to feel like you're really starting to become a part of something. You know what I mean? Like, you got a skateboard shop in town. You know, you can get boards there whenever you want, if the mail order or whatever. So so the S&M started, I think it was 94, 95, something like that. They approached me about riding for their store because I knew all the kids in town. You know, they knew I was a good skateboarder, one of the like last of the surviving whatevers from the time, and just a good skateboarder and a well-liked dude. So they approached me about riding for them, and I was like, you know, I had no idea. I was like, yes, my first sponsorship. You know what I mean? I was like, I didn't know what it meant. They gave me a free board, a couple of shirts, and said you get like 40% off everything at the shop or something like that. So I was pretty stoked about that because I was the only guy to ride for them. They kind of went through a small ownership change. Like the Steve and Mike left, but it still remained S&M. But I remember the first day they bought the shop, I was on the phone with Mike, and Mike's like, yeah, these guys are in here. They're about to buy the store, and I was kind of offended because I was like, I thought he'd ask me about buying it because I graduated school in '95. And I had been working for about 2 years. I had a little savings. I thought, wow, like, why not approach? He never approached me about it. And I rode for him. I figured he'd be like, well, you ride for us. Do you want to, you know, own the store? Anyways, so this group of guys, I remember the first day I talked to him, like, this guy got on the phone. And I was like, hey, it's me, Moss. He's like, who? I was like, Moss Miller. I was like, I ride for S&M. He's like, oh, yeah, we just bought the place. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, you guys still going to sponsor me and stuff? So I still get to ride for you guys? And he was like, oh, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. And, like, ever since that point, I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm over it. I was like, that store probably should have been mine. I guess I could have got a little bit bitter. So I started my own company, believe it or not. This really funny, hilarious company. I'd order blank boards from this really good wood company. So I talked to my buddy, and he made me a stencil. Sure enough, it was like a circuit board, and it said digital skateboards on it. And it was just like this whole cool setup. And he actually made it so that you can plug it right into the 8 holes that are on a skateboard. So, so he made me a stencil, and I was just sitting in my front yard with like 2 other dudes, and I would make these boards. I called them digital skateboards. I'd take these blank boards, and I'd put this stencil on there and just spray paint like different colors. Like you could do like a red, white, and blue, did like a Rasta, anything like that. Just like spray this stencil on there, and then take the stencil off, and then I'd go sell the boards. I order rolls of grip tape from some skate shop like down in Florida or something like that. Just ordered by the roll, and primarily I was selling skateboards out of the trunk of my car. In a sense, like I was trying to like be an entrepreneur, but in another sense, I was honestly really trying to like not put the skateboard shop out of business, but take away any business they were getting. They weren't getting boards for anybody, so I was like, well, then I'll step up and do it. Eventually, it came around to be that like I heard that they were looking into selling the place because their business was really bad. There was some sort of drug charges that came up with some of the guys, like they were selling drugs out of the shop, which is like a no-no, and that's just really bad. And to me, that really pissed me off because like this is skateboarding. This is not the drug world. You know what I mean? The last thing skateboarding needs is like drugs related to it. You know what I mean? It's already like related to punk rock and everything else. So this guy approached me about buying the store, and I'm like, well, you know, like I could start another store. There wasn't a location available. This is all town. So I was like, well, sure, I'll buy it. I was like, I bought it for as little as I could, and I didn't buy the name. I was like, I don't want S&M because I got a lawyer, and we looked into like all this stuff, and he's like, you know, odds are you want to start your own place. I personally wanted to call it Dark Side Skateboard Shop, and I was thinking like having like, you know, like Darth Vader, all these like kind of darker graphics, maybe some like, you know, some skulls and whatnot. Then I actually thought about Vigilante. There's this video game I used to play called Vigilante 8, and I loved it. I loved the name Vigilante. But my mom geared me away from naming any of those things because I thought they were just too like negative in a sense. And the Vigilante she thought was like just might have meant something that I didn't want it to mean or something. So she said, well, why not call it Flip Side? Because I want to call it Dark Side. She's like, well, why not call it Flip Side? And I was like, there was like a little ring in my head, but it wasn't like a light or anything. But I was like, true, Flip Side, like, you know, she's like, because it's like skateboards flipping and all this different stuff like that. So I was like, well, yeah. I was like, that sounds like a pretty good name. So I was like, I think I will go with Flip Side. So I decided to go with the Flip Side Skateboard Shop. I was 22 at the time when I took over this, 21 or 22 at the time I took over the skateboard shop. And it was just a real good thing. It felt really good, you know, just start your own business and own your own business. And that's kind of where it all started from. My friend next door approached me about he was going to take over this building and needed somebody to sublease this room. So ever since 2004, I've been down here. And there's been parking and still Flip Side Skateboard Shop, just different address. And it's been better down here just with parking and whatnot. I mean, you don't get the same walking traffic as you get uptown, but it's a lot better. What separates me from other skate shops, I skateboard, you know what I mean? Like I see it, I've grown, I've lived it, I've grown up with it, and so it's hard for me to do what I call, which is like, some people will call it selling out, where like you sell core skateboard brands, or you can sell what they sell at like mall stores and whatnot, which that's where I'm torn at, and I've always been torn at with this place. Skateboarding is seriously, is such a good release for so many people. I've had parents come up to me and thank me, not thank me, but they thank God for skateboarding because their kids finally found something that they can do. I love to see Flip Side as a brand, and I love to see Flip Side stand for something that kids can tell stories about and be like, yeah, I used to go to that store, it was a really cool dude who ran it, a really great place to get stuff, it was just a fun environment, you know what I mean? Like, I want it to be a part of people's Athens experience. I kind of foresee myself in the next like year or two. This summer is gonna be great. Probably a lot of road trips. Maybe hopefully getting over to Europe for some skateboard road trips and stuff like that. But Effort approached me about doing a couple graphics for them. I do like a little bit of artwork on the side and stuff. So they talked to me about possibly doing a couple little goofy graphics for them, some sticker graphics and deck graphics. So you might see that drop soon. Flip Side, I'm gonna be doing a whole new line of decks and clothing. I'm really gonna try to like get this. I talked to you earlier about I want to get this whole clothing thing or just